As India celebrates National Space Day, what do you think is the importance of the day?
Landing on the moon has been an enigma for many. Starting from the space age, the fierce competition that erupted in the 60s to reach moon and then land human on the moon. Now that story is well behind us, and over a period of time, the interest on the moon came down across nations. But then there is a new interest in going to moon. Every nation is trying to make it a point to reach moon. And that's why you have been seeing many missions happening in the recent times. The Russians, the Americans, the Japanese, the Chinese, all of them were sending moon, not human beings. They are robotic missions. So in that context, the mission of India going to moon, in the renewed interest of going to moon, becomes significant. And for us, the significance came because that we were the first to land on the southern side of the moon, which is considered to be more scientifically of greater interest. So, and we were the first to do that. And we were the fourth to be on the moon on a robotic lander. So, and also it came to on time then we were landing. There were other missions all trying to go along with us to go to moon and land. And many of them were struggling. So, in that context, leaving behind our experience of 2019, not able to land softly, the event on 23rd August 2023 became an historic event for all of us. And you said the significance. In many sectors, the importance and significance of this will be felt. The first and foremost, in the minds of young people, students, researchers, and it's a confidence giver on the might of India to develop such a capability, do it on our own will, do it from India based on technologies that were developed in India. Second, it gives every Indian a pride of being an Indian craft, reaching the moon and putting our flag on that. That gives you a second, a pride. Looking at the scientific goals and accomplishment in that, it has been historical that the Chandrayaan-3 was the craft that identified presence of water on the moon, even after so many years of exploration on the moon. And it was the remote sensing instrument on the Chandrayaan-3, an American instrument as well as an Indian instrument, found out the traces of water, later corroborated by further findings. Now Chandrayaan-3 is going to do that. But even Chandrayaan-2, the OHRC camera was one of the highest resolution images ever produced on the moon, which was used by other agencies now.
And the orbiter was functional for such a long time.
Such a long time, yes. And Chandrayaan-3, of course, found out many of the scientific findings yesterday.
Talking about man on the moon, but like you said, Gaganyaan is the next plan. So where is that? If you could give us the latest update on Gaganyaan at this point in time. We believe very soon there's going to be an unmanned spacecraft that's going to go and do a trial run of which the manned aircraft is going to do. Tell us about the timeline and where the stage right now is.
See, of course, in the Gaganyaan program, we have been little slow in the past. I must admit that the technology development program was going on. The first of the thrust was on the rocket side. The rocket need to be much more reliable. We call it human rating. So a lot of tests happened on the stages of the LVM-3 to convert it to human rated, and the entire process is now completed. The rocket in the final stage of flight has now been realized and brought to Sriharikota launch complex. So it is there now. Now, second element is the crew module, where the crew has to enter. But this development is taking time because the technology to make such a piece of engineering to do it in India is not there.
So this is completely being done indigenously.
We originally thought that we get it outside. And we tried in many ways to get it done outside, where there is some experience of doing it, but nothing materialized due to many reasons: technological, factual, cost, and many other things prevented us from doing such a thing. Finally, we had decided to do it here using the homegrown knowledge and technology, which has taken a little longer time. It becomes indigenous, and we are going to get it from industry now. Then that part is one. Second is there is something complex elements in it, which is called the crew module, electronics crew module, propulsion and service module, environmental control and life support system. They are under different levels of development. In the first flight, of course, human being is not going to go, so everything is not needed, especially the oxygen supply, water supply, food supply is not needed, and waste management is not needed. So we are going to put a robot. So that robot is under development and it has now reached the flight.
What will this robot be capable of doing?
It can interact with us with the audio manner. It can also do some functions like keys and switches and controls and replacement of some valves, opening some valves, things like that, which is needed for experiment. But more importantly, it will measure, suppose a human is inside, what type of environment that will feel, temperature, pressure, the vibration, shock, everything it measure, so that we'll give an idea about a person actually going, how he will feel it about it. So it will be fully instrumented. Then there are other items called crew escape system. You would have seen that we had done a launch of that part, and we proved that it is already there. But that's only one mission. So we have to do one more before we actually do the unmanned mission. So that's also getting ready. So the flight item is almost realized now. And lastly, there is another critical item called the integrated vehicle health management system, which actually is a computer of complex nature, which will monitor the rocket while it flies and checks whether everything is in order, whether all parameters are correct. Is there any failure going to happen? Not after failure, it will say it has failed. Prior to failure, it must look at the entire health of it and say that there is an imminent danger. And if that danger is seen, you abort. Save the crew. So this has to happen in less than few milliseconds of time. So that is also developed. The flight item is undergoing simulation and test. So all of this will come together at Sriharikota in another few months of time, and we are hoping that by December we should be able to integrate everything.
Talking about Chandrayaan-3, we should also talk about the future of Chandrayaan as well. I've just, been informed that 4 and 5, Chandrayaan 4 and 5, design is almost ready. So what's the plan for 4 and 5?
Foremost is you must continue to go to moon. See, the one mission that we did on landing is only the beginning, and we need to learn how to bring back that craft back to Earth. We did something in Chandrayaan-3, just lifting off, bringing back the orbiter back to Earth orbit. Some of the initial studies were done, but going there, landing, then taking off using a propulsive assist device, and then come back to Earth, return to Earth, and then collect the sample. It's next order of things. So this is first step, but this will be done in a scaled version. That's what we call Chandrayaan-4.
Okay, so the plan, of course, will be going there now, conducting more experiments and probably trying to bring back.
Yeah. It's actually, proving the technology of coming back is the primary objective. Of course, while we come back, why not collect some samples and come?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that is the first part of it. But then your question of taking human to moon and landing is now targeted by 2040. 2040. Okay. It's a pretty long time in the scale of the work that we need to do, but it's not that much of time really, we have to understand, because we have so much of capability yet to be developed. The first and foremost, the human spaceflight capability on Gaganyaan is yet to happen. So we have to first send the human to space, bring them back safely, take them again and again, build a space station, then send human beings for experiments for long duration stay, develop a higher capacity rocket to take human beings up to moon, because the current rockets are not capable of doing it. It's just hardly 4 tons. If you have to send human beings to moon, you need to lift 100 tons. Yeah. So we need to develop rockets of that caliber. We need to develop a space station to operate on a continuous basis. We need to create a ground infrastructure to operate such infrastructure for long periods of time. So the capacity development has to happen in a calibrated manner over a period of time.
But the vision is there.
Of course, the vision is there, but we need to work on it, invest on it for a long period of time.
Absolutely, and I'm sure with people who have the vision like you do, and to take it forward, that day is not far away, and probably a deadline that you set, we could even see it happening much earlier.
We must target 2040 is definitely a date within the 100th year of our independence. That's why we set 2040. So I am hopeful that we will be able to do that.
All this while we've been talking about just the landing, but after the landing, a host of experiments have been conducted by ISRO.
Yeah.
Take us through this latest finding and how interesting.
There are many in the pipeline to come out in the reputed journals and newspapers. Yesterday's finding on the lunar surface evaluation by the spectral characterization of the materials on the surface gave a different finding, and it talked about the origin of the moon. It where from the material on the surface came, and that linking has been very, very significant. It's a new finding, because when
called the origin of magma, if I'm not mistaken. Is it something like that, or what does it exactly signify for viewers, of course, who probably do not understand scientifically what does it mean?
Magma refers to more of a volcanic nature, or the molten material nature of the surface of the creation of the material on the surface. So as we see, you see the moon today as a dead material, not having any molten core, unlike the Earth. The surface of Earth is so thin. Most of it is molten, and it is moving inside in the molten. Whereas the moon is considered to be more of a cool down as a solid material, but still having certain activity taking place. But the evaluation suggests that this material could have been ejected out of a such a process where once it was molten and then over a period of time it cooled down to create this. Instead of assuming that no, the nature of creation was from a aggregation of material that moon got created.
India is the first country to get this sort of
Got sort of such an idea because we were able to do measurements at multiple locations. Possibly this was never done before.